Hey, what's up, everybody? Wow, I've been meaning to do a review of the SuperBeast electric skateboard and the Freedom Drive setup for about a half a year now. Unfortunately, I kept running into problems, so this video is a little longer than usual, but it's as short as I could make it. It took a while to sort out the issues, but once that was done, I wanted to put some serious miles on the board to put it through its paces before issuing any kind of verdict. The funny thing is, SuperBeast is no longer making this model. According to the company, this edition has run its course, and they're now working on the 22-23 SuperBeast SL, which is slated for a winter release with a bunch of new improvements. So you might be wondering, what's the point of a review for a board you can't even buy anymore? Well, the answer is I think this sets the stage for some exciting things to come from SuperBeast. And the Freedom Drive is something you can buy now for DIY projects, so there's that. Now that I have over 750 miles on the SuperBeast as of the making of this video, I can share how the board and the Freedom Drive have held up. The Freedom Drive is SuperBeast's gear drive convertible truck system. That's what drew me to the SuperBeast in the first place, gear drive. Ever since I saw the first photos of the SuperBeast way back in early 2021, I knew I wanted one. I mean, hell yes, I like everything about the look of this board. Simple, wood deck, elegant curves, everything in the right place. It's ideal. The battery enclosure is tucked under the belly at angles which make it virtually disappear under the drop deck for a nice low ride feel. This thing was made to take it rough, and it doesn't mind getting dirty. I mean, to be honest, this thing is built like a thrasher. It's not trying to be delicate or pretty. It's made to ride hard, get dirty, and take a few scratches. The 12S 5P battery is built with Molicel P42A cells for a devastating punch in a mid-size form factor. It's not too heavy, and it's certainly not wimpy. And to top it off with a De Vega for onboard telemetry display, phew. The SuperBeast certainly looks like the realization of an ideal to me. The fact that this board is convertible so easily just blows my mind. I mean, are you kidding me? It's that easy? Just put some other wheels on like presto? That's the attraction of the Freedom Drive. No belts, no fuss. It couldn't possibly get any easier. So the idea of a new electric skateboard company with a novel gear drive system made in the USA in San Diego, California really got my attention. I mean, I've always been drawn to boards pushing new designs and trying to strike a balance between range, performance, and a sporty ride that maintains agility. I've been e-skating since 2015, and I've owned my fair share of crap boards. So I'm not going to review anything without putting some miles on it. If you're new to this, reliability matters. Cheap boards have a way of costing you more in the long run. So in late November 21, I had a chance to get my hands on one of the very first SuperBeasts to hit the market. I was stoked to do one of the first reviews too, but I ran into some issues right away. At first the board wouldn't charge, and even worse, it wouldn't turn off. I had to open it up and disconnect the battery. I sent the board back and got it back a few days later. My second time out on the board, I experienced a gear lockup, which stripped the gears and made the board unrideable. I had to send it back again. SuperBeast fixed it, sent it back, all on their dime, but then I broke it again. I wasn't exactly sure how it was happening, but I was starting to think that maybe the nylon gears were too soft. I wondered if maybe the gears weren't meshing right. Jason at SuperBeast was super responsive and actually came out and fixed my board a couple of times, which was really impressive, I gotta say. They sent me a loaner for a while, which worked great. I put 200 miles on that board before it also broke. So the Freedom Drive consists of a motor pulley, a wheel pulley, and an idler pulley in between. Different gearing is available depending on whether you want to go faster or have more torque. The gears in my board were made of nylon, which should have been good theoretically, but they just kept getting shredded. After seeing what was happening, I was starting to think maybe the nylon just wasn't up to the task. More to the point, I didn't want to do a review until I knew what the problem was, and I really, really wanted it to work. So SuperBeast upgraded the gears to acetal, but that wasn't the fix. The day I got the board back the last time, I was on the phone with my friend Barrett, telling him about the issues, and he was reminding me that my name isn't Chuck Yeager. But as soon as I mentioned that the ESC was Unity, he instantly recognized the problem and had the solution. He told me that the motor temperature sensors were more likely the problem than anything else. Apparently, there's a known issue that occasionally those temperature sensors can glitch and cause a false reading. If the motors exceed the temperature set in the software, even if there's an anomalous spike, which can apparently happen randomly, that can cause the motors to stop spinning. As soon as I heard that, it was the only hypothesis that made perfect sense. I ride in the desert, it's hot, I ride hard. The motors did get hot sometimes, but a couple of those lockups had happened when I was just starting my ride. Heat buildup couldn't be the whole answer, but disabling the sensors definitely sounded like the solution. Sure enough, I've put over 300 miles on the board since figuring that out, and I haven't had a single issue since then. So to be clear, it wasn't any flaw with the Freedom drive, it was an ESC issue. When it comes to reprogramming the ESC through the Unity app, one noteworthy downside to having the DVega installed is you can't connect over Bluetooth like you normally should be able to in order to make configuration changes. You have to open up the board and physically disconnect the cable from the controller because the DVega takes over the UART data stream, so Bluetooth doesn't work. So that was another thing I learned the hard way. So now that the board runs fine, what do I think? Well, now I genuinely think it's awesome. It is, after all, everything I hoped it would be. I ride it pretty much every day when I'm not on my Metroboard X. It's become my go-to all-terrain board. The Sunmate 152mm AT wheels are the ideal size, and they've held up pretty well, but I figure I'll have to replace them after about 1,000 miles. The board is capable of hitting 38 miles per hour, maybe a bit more. I don't ride with the throttle to the max. I ride hard, but I'm not trying to die. I like to leave myself some headroom, and this board has plenty. My average speed on the ATs is 22 to 24 miles per hour throughout my ride. I usually keep my rides to under 20 miles and take it home with somewhere around 30 to 35% battery left. Your mileage may vary depending on your weight and riding style, hills and whatnot. If there's any question about whether the SuperBeast can hold its own in a race, I actually won the gold in the novice class at the Apple Valley Speedway this past February on a SuperBeast. So there's no room for doubt about it. Going into the race, the stability of the trucks was still one thing that had me worried. Brad at Riptide Sports noticed I wasn't quite stable on the rear, so he suggested a bushing swap. Swapping out the bushings was a really wise decision, and I've spent some time since exploring various combinations of Riptide bushings, and I'll make a note of the ones that I recommend for this board. I will say that swapping out the bushings isn't exactly easy with the way these trucks are put together, but once installed, adjustments are super easy. Owning this board did eventually prompt me to buy my first ever impact drill, which makes working on the board a hell of a lot easier. With the truck sorted, I feel really good on the board. Super stable, super comfortable, carves really well, better than I would have expected. Everyone else seems to be drawn to the SuperBeast too. When I worked the Voltaic booth at the Las Vegas eSkate Con show in March, the SuperBeast was everyone's board of choice to try, and they had their pick of every top board on the market. I tell people it's a really good board if you're looking for something you can grow into. There's a ton of value here at a really good price. One minor complaint has to do with the bearings. SuperBeast shipped with these cheap bearings that were pretty loose in the seat and speed rings, which I don't really care for at all. So in practice, when you do your first wheel swap, you wind up dropping the speed rings and the bearings fall out and roll away. It's not quite as hassle-free as advertised. The first thing I did was swap out the bearings for heady shake bearings with built-in spacers and speed rings. Problem solved. I made a mention of that to SuperBeast, and I'm told future boards will ship with built-in style bearings, but I recommend you pick up some spares to keep in your alternate wheel sets. I really like heady shakes because they're black and cheap. The board rides low with street wheels. I got my first enclosure scuff the first time out of my driveway. That's one reason I find myself riding mostly on ATs, but honestly, my advice is it's made to take a beating, so treat it accordingly. My only remaining misgiving about the SuperBeast is that there exists the possibility of wheel bite with all-terrain wheels if you don't have your trucks quite tight enough. It's a problem that goes away if you do some testing to find the limits. That is to say, if your trucks are too loose and you carve too hard, you can get wheel bite. Is it a fault? Yes. Is it one I can live with? Yeah, I can. It really doesn't bother me, but it is something that faintly sticks in my mind when I take corners. Even though I know it's unlikely, the fact that the possibility exists within the realm of quantum probability gives me just the slightest case of the yips. SuperBeast is aware of the issue, and that's one reason they're changing their deck on the next model. Meanwhile, the Freedom Drive is available for purchase directly from SuperBeast for DIY projects, so I say go for it. The Freedom Drive offers a complete, simple gear drive system for building your own convertible electric skateboard. With different gearing options available to change the ratio to your preference, the Freedom Drive is pretty well named. After putting the SuperBeast through its paces on some pretty harsh desert terrain for the past 6 months and 750 miles, I can feel pretty good about recommending it. As far as maintenance goes, the company advises to hit the gears with WD-40 every couple of rides to keep them running smoothly. Just squirt some into the back of the gearbox through this little hole in the back and hit the gaskets too. So that's all I've got for now. The Freedom Drive is solid. Sorry it took so long to put this review out. Go follow SuperBeast for news of the SL2223 due out this winter. Thanks for tuning in. Give me a like and I'll get a tiny little dopamine rush. And please do share the video. Subscribe if you want to see more videos someday. Later, e-skaters.